Hello and welcome to the stunning Wiltshire countryside, and more specifically to Barbary, where 40 of the world's best international riders and their horses have gathered once again. And just like the British summertime, the competition is heating up for leg number 3 of the Event Rider Masters.
Welcome to the Event Rider Masters 2017. Now in its second year, this is the ultimate eventing series, spanning 7 events in 7 iconic locations across Britain and Europe, culminating at Blenheim Palace, where the series champion will be crowned. This weekend, the series returns for the second time to the heart of horse racing country, Barbury Castle in Wiltshire. The outstanding natural beauty of the St James's Place Barbary International will provide the stunning backdrop for leg 3 of the 2017 Event Rider Masters. A series regularly attracting the top event riders, this weekend will be no exception, with 40 of the world's very best, representing 11 nations, here to compete across the weekend, looking set to be a jaw-dropping event against the rolling hills of Wiltshire. This is the Event Rider Masters.
To Barbary. Leg 3 of the series is here in the heart of Wiltshire, in an area of outstanding natural beauty. The lineup includes 8 of the world's top 20 and 11 different nations are represented, making it very much an international field. The unique atmosphere at Barbary adds to the sporting spectacle of the Event Rider Masters series, and it is jumping day. We will be bringing you all of the action live as it happens, and we won't know the winners until the last horse crosses the finish line this afternoon. Well, we're delighted to be here at Barbary, and thank you very much for joining us wherever in the world you're joining us from. In the studio with me throughout the show jumping phase this morning, I'm happy to introduce Yogi Breisner and also Derm Byrne from Echo Ratings, who'll be giving us the inside line on all of the combinations too. But it is not just us here in the studio soaking up all of the atmosphere. Let's go and say good morning to Michael.
Thank you very much, Nicole, and good morning to all of you watching. There's going to be some great atmosphere here today. You can find us here in the show jumping arena. There are 12 jumps, 15 jumping efforts. That's going to be a great competition with a leaderboard moving all over the place. This afternoon, then, of course, we go to the cross country. There's going to be lots going on, and I'm going to be keeping in touch with all the riders to find out exactly what is going on and keeping you in the loop. Nicole, back to you.
Well, thanks, Michael. And yesterday's dressage was full of drama. Let's take a look at how it all unfolded. The Battle of Barbary is about to commence.
Welcome to leg 3 of the Event Rider Masters, hosted at the spectacular St James's Place Barbary International. 40 top international riders, including some of the world's very best, and 3 thrilling disciplines: dressage, show jumping, and cross country. Day 1 and the competitors were ready to battle it out in the heart of the Wiltshire countryside for the dressage.
Barbary is just wonderful, and we've got to be super smart. We've got to go in there and we've got to show off what our horses have learned and our training, be very precise and accurate and positive.
A man identified as one to watch was Brazil's Marcio Cavallo-Xoxo. But a shock 3 errors for Marcio saw him eliminated from the competition in the very first test.
I lost my concentration and I did the first mistake in the walk, wrong ladder. I had a very bad day today.
The star of the afternoon was France's Thomas Carlyle, who wowed the crowd and received a 30.8 with this impressive stallion, Upsilon.
The horse is exceptional. He's such a serious and cool dude. He's a real teammate, so we do the test together.
It was a hat-trick of records as well for the French rider. A personal best, the top dressage score in the Masters series so far, and the best for Barbary as a venue. Carlyle set the bar incredibly high, but was soon followed by the king of Barbary himself, Andrew Nicholson. The New Zealander got an impressive 34.9 for second place overall, a personal best at this level for his badminton-winning horse, Nereo. The stage is certainly set for the show jumping and cross-country tests, and it looks set to be a nail-biting final day.
Well, our ground jury said yesterday they didn't think it was going to be a dressage competition, that it is going to be about the jumping today. So let's take a look at that leaderboard and how it looks after the first phase. Thomas Carlyle, Upsilon, he has a pole in hand over second place Nereo, but the top 10 is tight at the top and just a pole separates between third through to 10th. So we'll be expecting a lot of movement on the leaderboard as it progresses. Gemma Tattersall, Pomero 4, she's looking for series points as well. And that is the top 20 as it stands. Sekatinkerton Price, Canterwork dropped his scores out of the 30s, but one to watch in the jumping phases. Diaduris, Lauren Kiefer for the United States of America, making her Event Rider Masters debut on a dressage score of 48. And the talking point from yesterday's dressage was Marcio George and Coronel MCJ eliminated for those 3 errors of course in the first phase. Now, Yogi, Marcio was absolutely heartbroken after his test. What a position to be in. When was the last time, or have you ever known that happen at this level?
I haven't known it happen that someone has been eliminated for the 3, but it's quite common that they do 1 mistake or sometimes even 2 mistakes. So it's unusual that they get disqualified for sure.
And he was understandably heartbroken, and this is huge in terms of the series as well. He was second on the series leaderboard. He's missing Jardy next week, and he's not going to pick up points this weekend. But it is the highs to the lows, and the high was Thomas Carlyle, Upsilon Derm. Echo Ratings got it right. They said he was going to be the leader, and he was.
Yeah, and on Marcio, imagine the whole spectrum that you go through. This time last year it was Marcio and Lissy McGuire who broke the dressage record, best dressage score at Barbary in the last decade, and then yesterday that was all replaced. The new boy has arrived, Upsilon, the 9-year-old stallion. He's come and he's taken on, generally regarded the king of Barbary, Andrew Nicholson. He's taken him on, and at the moment he's winning. He's ahead so far. I think we've got a really exciting day ahead.
Well, we can't wait to get underway. Let's go down to the collecting ring and catch up with Michael.
Thank you very much, Nicole. I've got some of our riders here with us from yesterday. We've got Emily King, Thomas Carlyle and Alexander Bragg. Alexander, we'll start with you first of all. A personal best for you in Zagreb yesterday. Pleasing performance in the dressage.
Yeah, he was very, very good. You know, first outing for a couple of months. A little bit nervous when he first entered and halted, but once he got into his work, you know, he showed his kind of capabilities. So over the moon.
And how are you feeling this morning? You know, we've got a lovely course behind us for the show jumping first thing.
Yeah, it's a lovely arena. Very interesting with the slope at the other end by the marquees and things. I'd have liked to have seen it a couple of holes bigger, actually. But no, it's enough jumps to kind of get over, and I'm sure the time will be quite influential as well.
At what point do you start thinking about this afternoon and to the cross country?
I think it's one step at a time. You know, you've got to get this bit out of the way first, still keep yourself in contention and then focus on that. I wouldn't do my final course walk until I've show jumped, so I can keep my mind on this first.
Alex, thank you very much. Best of luck for today. We got Thomas Carlyle as well. Thomas, Upsilon yesterday, and you, what a test that was in the dressage. Not only personal best for you, but an Event Rider Masters record.
He was unbelievable. I wasn't too bad either, I think. So I was very happy with that. And he's such a cool customer, and he's nailing it every time now. So he's really matured. He's still very young, so hopefully there's a lot more to come from him.
You mentioned when I spoke to you yesterday about teamwork, and that's the key word, isn't it? In a competition like this, you and your horse, you're at one for anyone that's new to the sport.
Well, the ideal thing is to be able to have a good partnership with your horse and to be able to be with him against the dressage test, against the course designers are putting up. Sometimes when we're a bit greener, you feel as if you're all alone against both the horse and the course. But when they work with you, it's a real aid. Yeah.
After yesterday's performance, how much pressure does that put on you today, coming in to the show jumping festival to get yourself a clear round?
Just enough to make me wake up this morning on time. No, I do appreciate a bit of pressure. It sort of gets me a bit more focused. But no, he's a good jumper. I'm looking forward to it.
Cool. Thomas, thank you very much. And finally, Emily King. Emily, another stunning day here in Barbary. A great performance from you guys yesterday as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I was really pleased with him. He's quite a young horse. This is his first year of 3-star, and actually quite helps him in the ring. He's a really relaxed horse, so with the atmosphere, it actually you know, enhanced his movements. So yeah, really pleased.
We've got a busy day today, obviously the 2 phases. As an athlete for you and your horse, what's the preparation process like that? Because it's quite a physical day, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, actually, like a day like today, I've just got the 1 horse in this class, so it's actually quite a relaxed day compared to others. You know, yesterday I had two stars, so they did the show jumping cross country twice, you know, once each, and then did my 3-star dressage. So, you know, we ride a lot at home, so actually when we come to these shows, you know, obviously you're doing walking the course and doing everything, but actually it's quite a bit more relaxed. So it's, yeah, good.
Well, best of luck today. Thank you very much to Emily, Alex, and Thomas. Best of luck for you guys today. And Nicole, back to you.
Thanks, Michael. Great to get their input before the jumping. Let's take a look at that running order, reverse order in the jumping phases. And who do Echo ratings say that we need to look out for in the jumping?
Early on, I think Lebowski, the big thing for Beanie is she's in that early 3 there, going to give us a good idea on the time. I think time's going to be one to watch in the show jump today. Lebowski has jumped here previously and they've been clear here twice already in the show jumping. Moving into this next group, I think Sekatinka, Tim Price is the one I think that could move up from there. They haven't had a pull down this year, 2 from 2. Still emerging, but I would be keeping an eye on Sekatinka. Grand Maneuver comes up early. Grand Maneuver has been here 4 times and never had a pull down at Barbary Castle at any level. So Grand Maneuver is the one to watch there. And then look, we're moving into that final group. Upsilon. Oh, it didn't go right at Chatsworth. Nereo. I mean, I'm not expecting huge movement between the 2. I think they're both going to be clear.
Well, we can't wait to get underway. It's about 5 minutes now until the first combination is due into the arena. But the man in charge of the course here at Barbary is course designer Jason Abbs, and he is catching up with Michael.
Jason, a wonderful day for it today. Just take us through the course a little bit. What should we be looking out for?
Yeah, we're just looking for the riders to just keep the horses balanced on the way through. We start quite nicely over fence 1, up to the SAP fence and up the hill. Unusual thing in this arena that we've got a slope that's surrounded by their very valued sponsors, so we're asking for a bit of control and balance as we're going around the top. Got a double coming down the hill, and then we've got the most demanding test of the course, which we have a combination that follows a forward going distance of an oxer. So we're asking the horses to lengthen a little and then maintain a little control as they come through. After we've maintained the control, we need to stretch a little on the fence behind which is a triple bar onto the event management ERM planks at fence number 9. There's an option at fence number 9. You can take the easier option of an oxer, but it does have a longer time route. So if you take that route, you've got to just kick on to the last line, which is a delicate fence onto a water tray on a forward going distance and a very delicate vertical to finish. So time is very much of the essence. If they exceed the time allowed, there'll be penalties incurred.
Yesterday people were saying this isn't going to be a dressage competition, there's lots to play for today. Could we see it being a show jumping competition? Is this going to be vital?
It's certainly become influential, but it's all about the cross country at this standard. Although the show jumping's important, of course, the dressage, we can't forget the most important part of it is the cross country at the end.
Jason, thank you very much. Nicole, back to you.
Well, thanks, Michael. And I have to say the conversation about the time is very interesting. 80 seconds, the time allowed for our course. And Yogi, the time's been really influential in the Event Rider Masters series. Let's just talk for a second. The ground jury have the ability to change that time should they wish, either increase it or reduce it before the 3rd competitor goes. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes. So they can adjust that time. The time is very important that they get it right, because if the time is just balanced and tight enough, then the riders have to be on the correct pace the whole way through, and that of course then means that the margin for error with the jumps are that bigger. If they have lots of time, they can take an extra check, they can add a stride as they go along. And the course here at Barbary, of course, is unique in that it has 2 levels. So after fence 2, they will go up to the top level, which is around the hospitality unit, around the water jump, which is towards the end of the cross-country course, and they have got a double and 2 single fences to jump up there, all done on a sort of curving line, so they turn, and it will be very easy to take a few extra strides up around that top bit. It's a little bit slower, it's a little bit spooky, and then of course they come down the slope, first to an oxer and then straight into the combination, which again, that down slope can unbalance the horse. And then towards the end of the course, as the course designer said, they've got an option, but there are also quite a lot of turnbacks, where again it's very easy to get a bit wide and then straight away you lose on the time.
And what were your initial thoughts on the course? Tough?
It's quite open, and with those two levels, it does unbalance the horses sometimes. So I think it's tough. Could probably be a hurdle too higher in one or two places, but I'm sure it will be influences. With the score so close together, just one fence down means that you can drop down no end of places.
Well, we've seen how tight the leaderboard is, and Equa ratings have been pretty on point so far this weekend. What are your thoughts ahead of the show jumping?
Well, the interesting one, Nicole, is no one has ever won an event rider master's leg and had a pull down. You have to jump clear. Only on one occasion has someone picked up a time penalty.
And that was Andrew Nicholson here last year with Nereo?
It was indeed. So time is going to be tight today. It's going to be really interesting to see if the poles stay up or stay down. We've got some talented show jumpers, but actually as a show jumping field, it's not the strongest we've seen. So we've seen some very good dressage tests yesterday. We're going to see some very good cross country in the afternoon. We are going to see people jump clear, but I do expect this to be a very, very influential phase of this particular competition.
Well, we can't wait to get underway, and our first combination is coming forward now, and we should remind you all that the show jumping and the cross country both run in reverse order of merit. So Upsilon, Thomas Carlyle, our dressage leaders, will be the last to go in the show jumping. But to get us underway is Pascal Boutet for France with the Pole des Vents, and this is a combination who things didn't quite go to plan in the dressage yesterday. 67.4, that left them in 37th position overnight. Just a couple of updates to bring you. Izzy Taylor, Trevidden, they withdrew before the dressage, and Indiana Olympus, Billy Brogue, after that difficult dressage yesterday, they've decided to withdraw before the show jumping. Marcio George, of course, eliminated in the dressage. We've spoken about him, so they will give us 37 combinations. This is the first combination to see, and Yogi, just talk us through, because actually Pascal, very clever there, took the horse up round to have a look at the bank.
You will see a lot of riders taking the horses up that bank in order for them to have seen it, so that when they start they don't come up there no spookies. They have 45 seconds from the time that the bell goes till they start, and now he's of course jumped the first two fences and are on the way up the slope for the first time.
And they just go round the back of the water there, though, don't they? And that red post box is quite spooky, isn't it?
It is a spooky fence. Of course, that's a fence that was first used in the London Olympics in 2012 and has been travelling around to these various shows since then. It's always been a fence that has been a bit spooky and they have had down. But there you could see the effect of coming down the slope. The horse got a bit unbalanced, ran a little bit deep to the oxer and had a front rail run.
So now they're coming round to the option fence in the Event Rider Masters classes. There's the planks, which is the much quicker option. There's an oxer to the right-hand side of those planks, and that is an additional 27 metres onto the course, which equates to about an extra 4 seconds. I think we're going to see most combinations going the direct route, and in fact, Pascal did it very well.
He jumped that fence very well indeed. And again, you've then got coming off a turnback and then a related distance of 5 strides down to the oxer. There again, the horse got a little bit fighting, ran down the distance and had it down.
Well, comfortably inside the time allowed of 80 seconds. So our ground jury, as I say, will be looking at the first couple of combinations to go as to whether they're happy with that time allowed out on the show jumping. That was the first pole we saw, Yogi. Coming down that hill, it's steeper than it looks on screen.
It is quite steep, and of course, once you're down, there is a distance, if you like, from the double down the slope and so on, but it's that long that riders would use their eye. But there is a 3 strides roughly from the bottom of the bank to that oxer. If you come down a little bit fast, those 3 strides is going to take you in there very quickly.
Well, Beanie Sturgis and Lebowski next to go. Beanie rides Lebowski for Peter and Jill Lamont, and Simon Grayley owns this 17-year-old, partly herself as well. And 64.5 Rotter, as he's known at home, rather lived up to his name in the dressage, and he certainly likes to keep Beanie on her toes. But this is one Equa ratings think we need to watch.
Well, I think primarily we're watching this because of where Lebowski is in the order. We're going to get an idea on the time, and I think this is going to be our first real indication. Lebowski is, as you say, can be difficult in the first phase, can also be very good in the first phase, depends on what kind of day you get. But what we get every single time we see Lebowski is speed in the show jump and speed in the cross country. Look at the recent form, did 1 down at Badminton this year. across last year there was two show jumping clear rounds, and then at Gatcombe in the CIC 3-star, so at the same level as we see today, they had 2 down. They don't pick up time penalties, so keep an eye on the clock. If they keep the poles up and they're inside the time, we may well see that time being adjusted.
This has always been a jumping machine, this little horse, and Beanie did a really good job. You could see when she came down that bank, just balanced him very nicely and then gave him that little bit more room to that oxer coming down the slope, and he jumped it very well. Be interesting to see her time, because she's actually taken 3 more strides around the top bit than the first rider did. This is so she's just spent a little bit more time now.
But the clock looks comfortable. It's still green and in fact comfortably inside the time. So Beanie Sturgis, Lebowski, our first clear round. They are going to be climbers on our leaderboard. Equa Ratings called it 64.5, the score that Beanie takes forward to the cross country. And Yogi, just talk us through this, because coming down the bank, she really did ride that beautifully.
She did. So she's coming around the top end there, where she actually took 9 strides. The first rider had 8 strides coming around that bend to the post box.
And Yogi, for our new viewers, that can't, like, when we're counting those strides or when we're talking about the difference in those strides, they can be all important when it comes to time penalties.
Well, if the time is very tight, you roughly take a stride every second.
Okay.
So if you have added 3 strides up the top there, you've basically added 3 seconds to your time.
So now we turn our attentions to Michael Jackson for Great Britain, making his Event Rider Masters debut this weekend. And he comes forward with Gary Powers. PSH Promise Me 60.3. This stallion got a bit tense in the dressage yesterday. Just a 9-year-old by Ulysses. And that's a horse actually that stands, that stallion, at the Power Sport Horses stud. Gary Powers, such a huge supporter of eventing. And Mike's ridden horses for him for a number of years now. 60.3 they scored in the first phase.
Well, it's Nunny in the CIC 2-star over a year ago when we last saw a clear round from this pair. Still only a 9-year-old, so plenty of time and plenty of room for improvement. Michael will still be learning a lot about, you know, the best way of riding the different combinations. 2 down at Bramham, 1 down at Chatsworth and 2 down at Burnham this year. So a clear round, or even keeping it to 1 pole, I think they will be pleased with.
So far as horses, Michael is doing a really good job keeping the horse balanced, and so far the horse has jumped these fences very well indeed. So at this stage hopefully he will be looking at the clear round. It come quite wide around that turn. It'll be interesting to see how he sits on the time. He's certainly taking his time.
He had sort of 18 seconds, which was the same as Beanie, and she was comfortably inside. So, and yeah, he's comfortably inside as well. So Michael Jackson, PSH Promise Me our second clear round here. Leg 3 of the Event Rider Masters at the St James's Place Barbary Castle International Horse Trials. And leaving all the poles intact. 4 penalties for any poles that are knocked out of the cups, and that can certainly prove very expensive. Well, the optimum time, the time allowed, is 80 seconds. And time penalties, it is 1 time penalty for every second over that time. Well, next to go will be Carlos Parro. Carlos coming forward with Hidden Valley CP's Maismar Fox. And this is a horse that definitely prefers the jumping phases, finds the dressage a little bit tricky at times, but comes forward on a score of 57.1 to the second phase.
Well, again, this is going to be interesting. So we've seen Michael just go in there and jump a clear round on PSH Promise Me. Carlos's horse has a similar record. So 1 down at Chatsworth already this year. And at Burnham Market, he did jump a clear. At Belton this year, he had 1 down. And at Osberton late last year, he jumped a clear. So it's a little bit 50-50, but I would be more leaning towards a pole. In normal circumstances, what we've seen is a couple of horses go in there, jump clear, so we're having to make sure we're getting our reads from those early ones as well. I think today could be a day that if they are going to go clear, they're going to do it now.
Well, just confirm that the time allowed is staying the same, so it is 80 seconds. So that is the time allowed for the show jumping. No changes. Our ground jury allowed to make changes to it, either increase it or reduce it.
You surprised?
A little bit surprised, yes, because the first few riders certainly haven't had to have go very quick to get comfortably inside the time. We're interested to see with Carlos because he actually moved his horse forward up the slope in a stronger pace than the first riders have been doing. This horse here has given him a wonderful ride, been very polite the whole way around, and again should
just the one to go. Carlos Paro, Brazil, Maismar Fox, they clear it well inside the time. Our third clear round here at Barbary, and Carlos will take forwards to the cross country 57.1, which is his dressage score.
So early reads, I mean, we've had horses who have had poles down previously. We've got some mixed show jumping form coming in, but the time has proved gettable, certainly. We've and as a jumping challenge, at the moment we will be saying that we're not going to be expecting some of our if some of our top horses here, some of our leaders are having a pole down, it's going to either come down to pressure, but it's also going to be a big surprise and a shock for them.
Yes, and of course you can have that effect when you, of course, apparently rides reasonably easy. Then of course the a fence down means that much more, because if you have a lot of clear rounds, you drop down with that, and that in itself puts the pressure on the riders, and so mistakes might happen. We'll have to wait to see.
Well, next to go, Nikki Hill for Great Britain with MGH Bingo Boy, a horse she owns herself, just a 9-year-old. Went double clear at Chatsworth earlier on this year to finish 7th at this level. 57.0 they scored in the dressage yesterday. Ooh, got in a bit tight there, Yogi.
But tight. And that is what can happen. You have that sweeping turn, and yes, it walks on a level stride, but then if you go a little bit wide or you come in a little bit tight, and you can see here she started out quite free with him. Now he's got a little bit keen and he's just fighting her a bit, and this is of course where he needs to keep his concentration and keep being careful, because if he gets a bit feisty like this and the rider is not quite in the control he wants to be, then you're relying even more on the horse's carefulness. She's got him back now, and she has got back into the rhythm that she lost a little bit coming down that slope, down through the combination.
Well, they jumped clear in the CIC 2-star here last year. They already, late last year, they jumped clear at Osberton. They've already jumped clear at Chatsworth this year. So going for 3 in a row.
And they get it comfortably inside the time. Nikki Hill, MGH Bingo Boy, add nothing to their dressage score to go forward to the cross country on 57.0. So 5 combinations have gone, and we've 4 clear rounds. The first of those clear rounds was Beanie Sturgis with the wonderful 17-year-old campaigner Lebowski, and Beanie is chatting to Michael.
Beanie, the first clear round of the day. You set the standard early doors.
Yeah, that was nice, wasn't it? He had springs on today in the for the show jumping. Unfortunately, he had the same springs on yesterday for the dressage, which was anyway. I was so disappointed last night, but look, no one's died. It was jolly annoying, but it's great to be here at Barbary.
I was going to say that after yesterday's disappointment, there was a little bit of tension there, wasn't it? You know, notorious for jumping. He made up for it today.
Yes, he did. He's 17. This is his last season. He's going to retire after this season, so he's got Barbary, probably Gatcombe and Blenheim. Hopefully he can do the ERMs at both of those, and then he'll retire and he'll go hunting, and my daughter rides him at home, and she's only 7, but she can ride him at home, so yeah, so he owes me nothing.
Well, congratulations and best luck for this afternoon.
Well, he is a real family pet, Lebowski, and he will be sadly missed on the eventing circuit, but very pleased to hear we'll see him a couple more occasions in the Event Rider Masters series, and we'll be looking forward to seeing him across the country this afternoon. Now, though, we turn our attentions to Sweden, to Ludvig Svennesdahl with Andrew Ayres' Ballon Mist. Ludvig, who was recently selected to go to the European Championships in Stragom later on this month. That is with paramount importance. But this is a horse that is experienced at this level, and Ludvig has twice been ranked inside the world's top 10. Hard to believe he's only 26 years of age, Yogi. He's been around for a really long time.
It looks like he's been around for a very long time, but I'm old enough to remember when he first came on the scene, and he's always been a very talented rider that produces his horses extremely well. He's also finds a very nice model of a horse when he goes out and buys one, and he's financed his eventing by selling some of his top horses over the years, so he hasn't always been able to keep his very best ones, but he's got a nice string now, and I'm sure looking forward to the European Championship, which of course will be some of the British riders coming up later on that are still looking for those one of those 6 places to go to Strajom.
And actually, he was quite close to the time allowed. He rode his luck a little bit there.
He did ride his luck. He went all the way up there. He took his time. As we said earlier, they've got 45 seconds from the time the bell goes to go through the start line. And he was very close to it. And of course, they don't get penalised, but the time starts.
Well, that ox are going at the top of the bank down there. So 1 pole down for Ludwig Svenestall and Ballamist.
But what that means, the best ever finishing score that Ballamist has had came in Weston Park in the CCI 2 start in 2015, 59.6. That pole has moved them to 59.5. So if they want to beat their own record for the best ever finishing score this combination have had, they've got no more room for error.
Well, that pole down will drop him a couple of places on the leaderboard. He goes behind Nicky Hill and behind Carlos Parro.
I think that's a really interesting point that Yogi was making earlier. On a day when people are jumping clear, 1 pole can be very expensive, and you've seen that already.
And another pole as well, so 2 down so far for Ballamist and Ludwig Svenestall. The time looks absolutely fine, so he comes home with 8 to add to that score. And Ludwig Svenestall, the sole Swedish representative here at Barbary for leg 3 of the Event Rider Masters. Just see, this is the first pole he had down, Yogi.
So he had moved the horse forward coming up the slope, and this is what can happen sometimes when you have that slope like that, the way you come up the slope, the striding might not have worked out absolutely perfect for you, and he was just a fraction off that fence, which means that he took off a little bit earlier than ideal. The horse was very neat in front, but then just dragged the hind legs and had a rail down.
Well, next to go is Louise Harwood. Louise coming forward with Cynthia Higgins, Jenga the second. And this is a horse that was actually bred by Cynthia. Louise has produced him really, really well. Competed here in the Event Rider Masters class at Barbary 12 months ago, finished 16th on that occasion. Comes forward with a dressage score of 54.3. So can't afford to have a pole down to stay ahead of Nicola Hill and MGH Bingo Boy.
Well, we've come from one hugely experienced rider to another, so Ludwig had actually 60 CIC 3-star runs under his belt already. This is Louise's 50th CIC 3-star this decade.
She a bit of vocal encouragement, I think, though, Yogi, wasn't she?
Louise has got a very much a style of her own. She's very active on the horse. She usually rides quite big horses for not a very big girl herself, and she's very, very effective in this phase. I think she's got a pretty good record of leaving a lot of poles up, but she does ride in a very unique style to herself, where she's quite active on the horse. She came up the slope the same as Ludwig and was a little bit off the fence, and just with her voice encouraged the horse and got over the back rail. She's doing a very good job here.
She's also experienced.
Now that's interesting, because she has taken the alternative fence, the option fence, instead of the planks, but actually had it down.
Yes. The distance I don't think worked out quite for her, so she ended up going very much to her hand to shorten the horse up. And because you've been quite open up over the top end, when that happens, then the horse might not listen to you the way he should be doing. He got a little bit deep and had it down, but she's still well inside the time, despite having gone those 27 yards or meters further on the course. It'll be interesting to see now, because generally speaking, horses probably prefer to jump an oxer than to jump those upright planks. Those planks very often comes down, so it'll be interesting to see if riders will start taking that slightly longer route now.
That alternative route, the reason it's there is to make the riders think, will I go for speed or will I take the risk and take on the plank jump? It should be adding 4 seconds in a standard situation. The options, the way it's measured here, it should add 4 seconds in terms of risk. But with more riders making the time at the moment, it could be a risk we're taking, Yogi.
Yes, definitely. It depends a little bit on your horse. I mean, they've all jumped and left those planks up, which obviously means that the horses are seeing them well. But generally speaking, if you touch a pole because the cup is hollow, the pole can roll and stay there, whilst on the planks they are on shallow level cups, so they come off that little bit easier.
So coming forward, one of our 3 Australians in the field, it is Catherine Burrell with Duke, a horse she owns herself, just a 9-year-old by Fin. Catherine, based locally just down the road at Maisie Manor in Ogbourne St Andrew. She's been a regular visitor to Barbary over the last few years.
So because she rode that fence 3 slightly different to what both Louise and Ludwig have been doing, in that she moved up the slope and then picked her horse up and balanced him, whereas the others 2 came up and then got a little bit floaty into it, and this horse jumped it very well, and again she's balanced the horse beautifully coming down the slope. She's doing a very nice job of setting the horse up for each jumps, and of course with the time being quite lenient, the riders have the time to set the horses up that little bit more and make sure that they get the stride they want, and therefore guarantee that the horse is going to leave the fences up. So now she's coming to this alternative again, so she's gone for the plank and jumped it very, very well. Left plenty of daylight between the plank and the horse. Again, she's well up on the time. Got the distance beautifully down to the second last fence. She did a really nice job with that the whole way around. But I think this just shows again, with the time being on the lenient side, she had all the time the whole way around the course to set the horse up, make sure that she got the distance to each fence that she wanted, so the horse was on a perfect spot to jump clear, and she did a very good job with it the whole way around.
Well, she holds her position, goes forward to the final phase on her dressage score of 53.5. Our 5th clear round goes to Australia, to Catherine Burrell and Duke, and she sits ahead of Nicola Hill, MGH Bingo Boy, who've just moved up a couple of places, and they are on a score of 57.0. But now coming into the arena, it is Paulina Swindles for Finland with Fero S, and Paulina making her Event Rider Masters debut, and in fact the first time that Finland has been represented in the series. 11 nations in total represented here in leg 3, and Fero S is a 12-year-old by talent, produced by Paulina herself. This is her main horse at this level. She has another horse that she competes at 1 star, but this very much her top ride. And they come forward on a dressage score of 51.2. And this is a horse, actually, Yogi, that we're really impressed by in the dressage yesterday.
Yes, she did a very nice job. It's a big, I should say, we're about to say Scopy horse, and then he just flattened out over fence 3 and had it down. But again, when you haven't been riding in this arena before and you haven't been up along that top bit, it can throw both horse and rider a little bit, because when she's comparing herself with Ludwig and Louise and a lot of these other riders who has been coming to Barbary for a long time, and again he just got a little bit keen, ran down that distance to have the first part of the combination down.
Well, when we think about our sport as 3 phases, Fero S is a horse that is very much suited towards the first phase. Very expressive mover, but looking at the data, I suppose, on the other 2 phases, show jumping, it's not we've often seen the poles coming down for this combination, and also time penalties in the cross country. So you've got to be able to deliver in all 3 phases. But the first phase is certainly where Fero S likes to show her best work.
And I think here we might get our first time penalties as well. So she took a long time going around the course, and 4 fences down and 3 time penalties. I'm sure it's a round that she would like to forget. He is a big scopy horse, and with more experience and more work, I'm sure she will get that with him in this phase as well.
So Paulina Swindles for Finland with Fero S. And an expensive round in the second phase for them, and that cost them places on the leaderboard. They dropped down the leaderboard below Catherine Burrell, below Nikki Hill, Carlos Parro, Louise Harwood, and she goes forward into the cross country in 36th place as things stand at the moment. Now though, we turn our attentions to David Britnell and continuity. David, who made such an impression on his Event Rider Masters debut at Chatsworth, finished 16th on that occasion, did a good dressage yesterday, a personal best of 51.1, and comes forward to the show jumping in 27th position overnight.
Well, last year Continuity went on a run of 3 clears, Rockingham, Nunney and Barbury, all clear and all inside the time in this phase, but then went to Hartbury late last year, 1 pole down with a time penalty. Went to Chatsworth this year, 1 pole down with 3 time penalties, and then went to Bramham and had 3 down there. So he's going to need to turn the recent form around if he wants to stay on his current score.
And he really rubbed the first, Yogi.
He certainly did, and as long as you leave them up, it doesn't do any harm to just have a little rub early on. But there he played the penalties because the first fence has got a nice ascending spread to it, while it's coming up to fence 3, it's much more of a square parallel, and again paid a penalty of not being sharp enough in front.
So 55.1 his score at the moment. That just drops him the 1 place. I think David saw a stride there, didn't he?
He saw a stride. I think he came a little bit backwards around the turn and had no choice but to then kick. But it's nice to see a rider being able to be effective with their legs in that sort of way, and the horse responded well.
And they know each other so well, this combination, and they've come right the way through a sort of pony club up to 3-star level. But another pole, just the back pole of that oxer there, so 2 down for David Britnell. He comes home inside the time, and 59.1. He drops 4 places on the leaderboard. Nicky Hill, MGH Bingo Boy, they're climbing the leaderboard. They were our clear round, as well as Catherine Burrell and Duke, both clear rounds. So 5 clear rounds so far, the time of 80 seconds, and that is the time allowed. We've seen just the 1 combination picking up time penalties so far. Well, Michael is down at the collecting ring, and it's getting tense out there, isn't it?
It certainly is, and I've got Catherine Burrell with me now. Catherine, a great ride from you and Duke there.
Thank you very much. It was good. I've never been in an arena like that really for a long time, and my horse is very green, and his eyes are on stalks anyway, so really pleased with him.
Preparations now to get ready for the cross country?
Walk the course again, have a little rest, clean my lorry maybe, and then go.
Catherine, thank you very much. Best of luck for the rest of the day.
Well, she's very chilled out, isn't she?
Do a bit of housework in between, yes.
Well, we'll be looking forward to seeing her across the country this afternoon. But breaking news just coming through that Sammy Birch and the court jester who did that super test yesterday, they were in equal 7th overnight on 40.5. Sammy deciding to withdraw from the competition, so she won't be coming forward for the show jumping or the cross country this afternoon. Well, next to go, it is the Canadian Olympic rider Rebecca Howard with Caroline Basley and Jean Watson's Riddlemaster. This a 16-year-old by Rodero finished 10th at the Rio Olympics last year, actually the only female rider inside the top 10 at the Games, and she comes forward on a score of 51.0. This horse that got a little bit tense in the dressage yesterday. Rebecca would have preferred a score much closer to the mid-40s range, but certainly such an experienced combination. They completed here 12 months ago. They've been to a World Games, obviously the Olympics. They've been top 10 at 4-star as well, and certainly one of the most experienced combinations in the field.
And I've never had a pole down at this class of Barbary. They've been here twice, Nicole, and they've jumped 2 clear so far.
Because Rebecca is based over in Britain now, so she has got used to these various rings, and it certainly does help if you've been in this ring with the 2 levels. Again, she came moving up the slope, set the horse beautifully up, and jumped that fence 3 as well as anyone we have seen so far. Very economical around the turn, kept the rhythm up, and it's very easy when you go around these turns up there that the horse starts wandering, looking around himself. But at his age and with the experience he's got his mind very much on the job. But she still needed to correct him coming down the slope to that oxer, which some horses ran into, and he was just a little bit free coming down that slope.
So Riddlemaster, Rebecca Howard for Canada. Clear so far. 51.0, can't afford to have a pole down to hold their position ahead of Catherine Burrell and Duke. They go for the option fence. We've just seen the 1 combination take the alternative there.
That's right, and she had it down, so everyone must think that those planks are very jumpable, because they have been jumping really well. Again, she looks after the horse beautifully around the turn, keeps the momentum going on those turn backs, and She's going to be very close to the time.
I'm going to say time is getting tight.
She had the last fence done. She changed her mind into it, went backwards and had it down, and then also got a time penalties. When if she looks back at that and analyses it, I'm sure that she would regret making that decision, that she would much rather come forward, and she might have cleared it and certainly wouldn't have had a time penalty.
We're hopefully going to see that final line again, because Rebecca Howard, that one pole down, one time penalty, expensive for her. And she goes forward to the cross country on a score of 56.0 now.
So she's coming around the turn, and then she goes backwards and just adds that little short stride in front of the fence, which just means that it was very difficult for the horse to jump from there and had it down. And of course, having taken the pace off the horse as well, she added that point of a second that gave her one penalty as well, time penalty.
So next to go, it is Tom McEwen. Tom coming forward with Fred and Penny Barker's Strike Smartly. This is a horse that's a new ride for him this year, produced up to this level by Daisy Barkley, the Olympic rider. And he comes forward with 50.7 in the dressage. It was a bit of what could have been yesterday in the first phase, and there's very much a horse for the future for Tom.
This has always been a very nice horse, and it's great to see that the support from the owners to British riders, and Tom is of course one of our younger riders that are hoping to get a place in the European Championship with his other horse, Toledo the Cursor, which I believe he's taking to Aachen. And so it's wonderful that he's had the opportunity to get this horse, which adds to his string of horses, and a horse that could be a good horse for the future.
Well, very strong show jumping combination and a very strong show jumping rider. So Tom McEwen, 27 international runs this year, in the last 12 months, and a 58% show jumping clear rate. Already jumped 15 show jumping clears in the last 12 months. That's in the top 5 in the field at the moment. He did have one down when he won Chatsworth, so that's his first time that he was with Strike Smartly. He did have a pole down, but had a good enough dressage to make sure he went on to win.
Yes. I mean, Tom is very familiar to the show jumping ring, and it's one of the elements that he really flourished in. He's a very complete rider in all 3 phases, and I thought he did a beautiful job, well judged round the whole way round, kept the horse in a beautiful rhythm. And for any young people watching, the way Tom rode round that round, that's how you produce a good show jumping round, keeping the rhythm, keeping the pace up round the turns, and not giving away any time anywhere, and that allows the horse to use his body and pick his feet up and jump a clear round. Very good balance on the ride, and beautiful hands the whole way round.
Well, Tom McEwen is clear round number 6. He goes forward to the cross country on his dressage score of 50.7. So he will be in no worse than 25th position, but he is our clubhouse leader as things stand at the moment. The lady who's risen the most up the leaderboard, courtesy of that clear round at the moment, Catherine Burrell, rising 4 places, just outside the top 25 at the moment, with Duke 53.4. But next to go, it is Stella Bonatti with Zaron for Italy. And Stella comes forward on a score of 49.4. That left her in 24th position after the first phase. Rides this horse for Vittorio Bonatti, and Stella, based fairly locally at Ascot under Wychwood, represents the Italian Air Force, has done so since 2012.
Of course, this is how the Italians help to finance the riders, by getting them into the armed forces and then being able to support their training and so on through that system, which has worked very, very well for the Italians. Again, an example of how to ride here. I hope I don't put the markers on her, but she's beautifully balanced the whole way around. Lovely hands, keeping to a really, really nice rhythm, and I hope she stays clear, because she wouldn't deserve a pole down from the way she's riding here.
Well, based on the form of the previous combinations and looking at how they did in the previous runs and then have gone on to do here, it should be clear by what we're seeing at the moment. They did have one down at Bramham, they did have one down at Barbary. They were both CIC 3-stars, but they'd been on a good run of clear rounds up until that point. Are we approaching another one for Zaron?
Again, a very well just round, just over 1 second inside the time, but again, a real example of how a show jumping round should be ridden, and this is what makes it so not easy for the course designer in many aspects, because the standard of show jumping riding among event riders these days are very, very, very high, and most of these riders would certainly not look out of place in show jumping competitions right up the levels, and I think Stella is a wonderful example of that.
So Stella Bonatti and Zaron, our 7th clear round here. They hold their position, 49.4, and that is the score that they take forward to the cross country this afternoon. Lauren Kiefer, Diaduras next to go for the United States of America. Lauren making her Event Rider Masters debut, spending the summer based over here in the United Kingdom, normally based over in America, but 48.0 she scored in the dressage yesterday. And actually, Lauren rides this horse for Debbie Adams and for Jacqueline Mars as well. A horse that actually was top 10 in the Le Lion 7-year-old championships a couple of years ago.